All right. So this is very different than one of the last times you've seen me. I'm scraggly. I'm just using my laptop camera. This feels like going back to basics a little bit. But it's good. I think I need to kind of rebuild a little bit here on this channel and kind of refine my footing, so to speak. Because I'm realizing that this is something supporting INTPs is something I do want to continue to do. But I realized one of the reasons I was doing it before was because I was denying my own strengths as an INTP. It actually became a golden shadow to like start to support other INTPs to say like, "You're great, you're awesome, you could do these things," when I wasn't really doing that for myself. And so I'm starting to embrace some of those elements of being an INTP and how that actually supports me in my growth going forward. And so this video, as suggested by AI, because I'm using AI tools a little bit more to get some video ideas and stuff, the video title they suggested was Unleashing Authenticity, Embracing Your True Self as an INTP, which I like that idea. So let's talk about that. What the hell does that even mean? Embracing your true self as an INTP, because we don't really think about self, or at least I don't think about self as much, or at least haven't until recent years, right? So I imagine many INTPs that are watching this video or are looking for INTP related support and content are maybe starting to think about self a little bit, or we think about self related to others, right? Like frustrations that we're dealing with, whether that's expectations or we want to be a little bit more connective at times, or usually it's if we're on our own and on our own esteem, creating our own life, it's like we're fine, you know. But it's usually when we interface with others, it's like, wait, who am I relative to others? Which is like something we naturally do as human beings. There's the idea of theory of mind, and at some point, you start to be aware that other people have thoughts and they have experiences and all of that stuff. As INTPs, it's like we can understand that cognitively, but it doesn't mean we naturally want to interface with that other mind as easily, right? So that can be a challenge, even as adults. Learning how to embrace being authentic as an INTP. So, what does being authentic as an INTP even mean? It seems really tricky, right? Like, what? I think embracing our authenticity as an INTP is first of all understanding our strengths. For me, I'm starting to understand the strength of explaining and communicating an idea, talking from the lens of my introverted thinking, accuracy, what I've figured out, what I'm interested in, what I'm curious about, what provides me a little bit of mental life, you know, what am I seeking clarity around is usually what feels authentic to me. What am I interested in is usually what feels like an authentic expression of myself, right? I'm not necessarily being an expressive artist, dancer type of person, though they can exist as an INTP. But it's not necessarily going towards introverted feeling style of emoting and logging your feelings and stuff like that. Like I've been journaling lately, but it's been more so introverted sensing thought processes. What's my day to day experience like, and processing some complex PTSD also, and letting some of that stuff out. But it's not really about what my motivations are. I mean, if I understand my core motivation as an INTP, it's seeking curiosity, and I basically through some deep dives for myself, a couple of core values for myself are seeking and supporting sovereignty, curiosity over judgment, and um, seeking and supporting clarity. Like those are important, and I think they sort of create a Venn diagram of principles and values, right? So, seeking out what are principles and the ways that we navigate life, and in terms of what we understand as universal truths, I think allows us to unleash ourselves a little bit more as being authentic. And being authentic as an INTP is it's it's surprisingly complex because a lot of INTPs can appear homogenous. We can appear very similar to each other in terms of demeanor and things like that. But like even me, like I get a lot of comments like you're not an INTP because you don't look like a typical INTP, or you don't act like a typical INTP, or you don't speak like a typical INTP. And I think, yes, first of all, that's part of having a unique life experience, as we all have. So some of that introverted sensing, my life story, starts to flavor who I show up as and how I show up as an authentic person. Again, it's the curiosities. My curiosities are going to be different than another INTP's curiosity. They may live in similar realms, but there are INTPs that are going to dive deeper into AI than others. I mean, I know an INTP on Twitter who is like obsessed with Taylor Swift, and that's just like her specific thing that she's like latched onto, right? And you can have curiosities about people, right? That's you get into personality types, for example, like that's a curiosity that has a relationship to human beings. So INTPs can very much be good therapists. They can be really powerful people related diagnosers and prescribers of what people are dealing with, and what they could use help with, or even like pop culture analysts or something like that, right? All sorts of jobs. Personality Hacker has some great episodes about careers for different personality types. If you just type in INTP careers in Google or YouTube, I'm sure you could find some stuff pretty easily. And I think I've done some stuff too around that. But really, it's our authentic self as an INTP is like it's our curiosity, it's what our life story is, not necessarily like the narratives that we create for ourselves, but what has happened and how that has influenced us, the culture we grew up in. That's a big influence too. For me, I grew up in Philadelphia. That gives me a little bit more of an edge. But I also lived in San Diego for 7 years, and that kind of blunted the edge a little bit, which was nice. I eat more avocados than I ever have. When I first lived in Philadelphia, I mean, I grew up eating like cheese fries and cheesesteaks, and then I moved to California, and I'm like, avocados, wow, and healthier food, wow, and tacos, wow. Uh, and now I live in Rochester, New York, and that's starting to affect me as an artist. That's encouraging me to create more things and to express myself more. And there are long winters here, so I'm trying to think of ways that I can be more outwardly expressive. Like I'm I'll admit that I've been kind of avoiding making new videos because I just kind of lost it. I lost the edge, I lost the desire. But just doing this now, I'm like, oh, this actually feels good. It feels good to talk. I feel like I haven't had a chance to talk in a little while. My wife's an ENFP and we talk, but like she's usually asking me how I'm feeling, which is like not something I can really access really easily. But if I can talk to you, at least simulate talking to you as an INTP, it's like I feel like I can access a different part of myself that I don't usually access, right? So, it's kind of an incentive to keep doing it. And it allows me to access some of my unique self, which can come through talking. Part of what we experience in terms of what we're feeling and also where our ideas come from usually come from talking. And if you live alone as an INTP or you don't have a lot of social interaction, there's a whole side of you that you're probably not experiencing as much, which is what comes out when you're interacting with others. What part of you experience when you're brainstorming with people, or you need to figure out something in the moment and respond to a problem, or just be able to brainstorm and just turn on a camera and talk and have an idea and see what comes out, right? There's a certain degree of faith that comes with our extroverted intuition, which I've got plenty of videos about as well. Just search for extroverted intuition or INTP intuition, and I'm sure you'll find a bunch of stuff here on the channel. Yeah, I've got a couple great videos on that stuff. And really just like discovering your authenticity as an INTP does come from talking a little bit. It can be your vocal tonality, your style, the way you explain something, the way you express something. all of these things happen as a result of tapping into that extroverted side a little bit as well. So, these are just like the four ego syntonic functions, which are like the four functions that you know really well about yourself. But even just if you go to the four-letter code and you're accessing uh, your perceiver side, and just knowing that, like, I am more comfortable in a bit of a messy environment. Like, immediately around me, there's a clean background here, but like, I've got my laundry like literally right next to me, and I've got stuff kind of around me everywhere. I'm not so much of a hot mess in that sense, but my wife is much more clean. Uh, she brings the extroverted thinking to the table and keeps everything much more tidy and orderly in our main spaces. But when it's just like my direct working space, I'm much more willing to work in the mess, right? So that's just like a part of the way that I express myself, and part of how I operate, right? If someone's asking me to like clean up and be super tidy, first of all, it's a pull on my brain. It's not something I do very well, and it takes a lot of effort, and I don't care. like it, like I'm not bothered by it because first of all, I'm mentally tracking where things are. So if I know where things are around me, like I'm not worried about it. And then also, this is our bedroom. It's like a corner of our bedroom that no one's really going to come into. So my extroverted feeling is not embarrassed by it, right? I'm not going to show you, right? Because my extroverted feeling would be a little bit embarrassed by it. Um, and so that to me is like understanding the way that our minds work, the decisions that we make, and how we perceive things are just different ways to get to know ourselves. And then there's our identity beyond being an INTP, or having INTP preferences is the best way that I should put it. Because like, you know, I am a existence. I am a soul beyond being an INTP, beyond being C.Note, aka Christian Rivera, right? Like that's just a name. What is this? Like, and then there's like the exterior shell of this, right? There's all these complications when it comes to identity and understanding self, capital S self, in terms of the way Carl Jung put it. Um, that is an exploration unto itself. It's a combination of factors, and it's not necessarily an introverted feeling, deep dive, rip the soul apart emotional experience. Some of it can be an exploration of trauma, sure, and things like that. And I've done all sorts of videos about complex PTSD and ADHD and stuff like that, but it's really like your identity and authentic self is not a problem to be solved. It's really an acceptance process. It's like, this is the way that I think, this is how I process information, this is how I take in information, these are some of my preferences in terms of what I enjoy, what I'm curious about, what I like being around. This is how culture has influenced me. This is how my life story and my parents and whatever that story is, like how all of that has influenced me. It's all it's all part of it, and it all culminates in what you see in front of you, right? And those things are ever evolving and changing. And the more I find that we actually follow our curiosity and go to and not deny ourselves for the sake of others, for conforming too much, or um, doing too much of what the external world expects of us, then our authentic self shines through. That introverted feeling does shine through without having to actually touch it intentionally or do anything about it. Those are places, those ego dystonic functions or shadow functions are places that just sort of align themselves when you're really doing good work in those main genius zone places, right? And then going into uncertainty every once in a while around those lower functions and even the fifth function of extroverted thinking and pushing ourselves to get things done. I have an INTP productivity course available on Udemy. I'll put a link below. You can check that out. And I have a couple other courses there as well that you can check out around INTP relationships, um, stuff like that, right? So um, I think that kind of covers it. I think it's a good way to get my feet wet and get back into doing a little bit of YouTube content. I'll brush up the visuals. I'll get a light and make it look a little better here. But for now, it's just kind of like I need to remove friction, so I'm just using my laptop and just making it happen and getting going again. So let me know if you're still here, if you're still watching, if you're still interested in INTP videos, especially if you have a request for a topic. Put that in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you. I'm also considering doing a live stream or a Zoom call that's like a fluid coaching, group coaching call of sorts, like answering questions, that kind of thing. It might be live streams so that there's like super chats and you can ask questions, and maybe we can make it at a regular interval. So if you're interested in that kind of live group chat coaching situation, if there's an ideal time for that sort of thing, drop that in the comments below. Just putting out some feelers. Let's make a mess and see what happens, right? So I appreciate you for watching. I have been C.Note. Follow the links below for the courses and other available options for INTP support. And then that's it. So I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.